Okay, looks like we're live. I haven't done an interview since May, and you may notice the settings are a little bit different. My studio is completely torn down and in boxes right now. And the boxes are still in Mishawaka, and I'm in Huntsville in my son's spare room with glasses on because my allergies are so messed up that I can't see out of contacts. So these aren't prop, these are real glasses. They are about two prescriptions behind, so I can't see anything really. So here I am. I'm here. I'm going to do an interview, and I'm stoked. Obviously, if you've listened to the last couple episodes of the podcast, I hinted at some things that are going on in my life. The moving is one of them. A new job is one of them. I had a new grandson born 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Anyway, new grandson, Preston, born. Had a very good friend of mine pass away a couple weeks ago. And so it's been a lot. And so I haven't been doing too many interviews, haven't been doing my live stream, but we're going to catch up with that soon when we get down and settled. And until then, I have my computer on a box right now, a cardboard box, and I have a little TV table with my mixer and a mouse. And I don't have a keyboard, so I'm not gonna respond to anybody. But I'm gonna stay live on all the platforms instead of just doing Twitch because I haven't done an interview for so long. If anybody wants to pop in and watch, that's cool. So tonight I've got comedian from Michigan, who just put an album out last year uh, called Burger Prince that I listened to today, and it's really funny. And a guy who has used comedy and his gaming to gain quite a Twitch following. And I think that's one of the things I really want to talk about because comics are always, they're always looking for ways to generate income, generate fans, and all that kind of stuff. And it looks like Bob's done a really good job. So I want to bring Bob out right now. It's Bob Fredricks. Hey, Bob.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. It's nice to virtually meet you. Besides the Discord chat room,
Right.
and watching your streams. So I got to say right off the bat, I listened to your album today in between doing stuff at my new job that I had to kind of hide and listen to it.
Yeah,
Whereas at my old job where I was at for 16 years, I could just do it right in front of everybody because nobody cared.
right.
But but I listened to the album and I really liked your style of storytelling. And one of the things that is difficult about storytelling is, you were in like 4 and 5 minute chunks, and I'll go right to the last one, which is the one that had me laughing really hard, was No Glitter on Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And you have to have enough tags in there to keep people laughing and keep people leaning in to listen to more. So it's a lot harder than one liners. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, I mean, you've been doing this for a few years. Did you start doing the storytelling type stuff, or did you start doing like one liners like a lot of people do?
Yeah, and first off, I want to say sorry about your loss, and hope the move's going well. But
Thank you.
I think really like when I started comedy, like thinking back towards it, I think I it was a lot of my jokes started as one-liners,
Hmm.
let's say. I feel like a lot of it was kind of taggy. Like kind of the stuff that I begin the album with is where it's like the very quick like the boogeyman joke or the what was the other one that's on there? I forgot they were going to be talking about the album, but I should know exactly
Yeah,
what it is.
I think I've got it up here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it was.
the werewolf joke and the boogeyman joke that it
Yeah,
starts out with. Basically, it usually like a lot of times it'll start just from a quick like a seed of a joke, like a really funny line, and then
yeah,
out from there. Like that no glitter on Christmas, like that last bit, um, really started because we really were at a bar on Christmas and my friends really wanted to go to a strip club. And
yeah.
my friend Christina were sitting at the bar because we didn't want to go to the strip club with them, and they're texting us. and we're just like, "There's no glitter on Christmas," and, like, we're going back and forth, like, writing tags to it. Uh,
Yeah.
so, like, that whole series of events is based on me being a drunk mid-20, well, like a mid-20-year-old that likes to go hang out with their friends at bars and
Yeah.
shows and all kinds of stuff. So, it does kinda start from, like, those cores of ideas, and it
Yeah.
works out from there.
I really liked Bowl Cut too, and so I was listening to it. Obviously, if you're looking at the title of the track, it's Bull Bull, and
Yeah,
I was like, oh, they mislabeled it, and then it turns around, it really is Bowl Cut, and I thought that was a really good one, and I mean, just a lot of great tags in there, and I know that that takes a lot more effort than one-liners, but on the flip side, you also have more time that you fill as long as you can keep it funny.
yeah. I mean, and that all kind of, I feel like that's what you learn, like, I'm certainly not even a master of it yet, like, it's just kind of the type of thing where, I mean, I'm only 10 years in, which 10, like, well, technically 10 years. August
Uh-huh.
was like my 10th year as a stand-up, and, there's so much that goes into it, especially being from the Midwest when you're not in a big city doing it full time. Like, I've never been a full-time comedian. Like, I've just managed to grab a lot of stage time to develop it from hosting shows and just getting on stage as much as I can. But really it's just, you learn that it's like your cadence and how you try and stay like the realest version of you. Um, and I do kind of keep it a little bit loose. Like, I'm not super rehearsed on all of my jokes, and I do have a sort of stream of consciousness that it's just, I don't get upset with myself if I don't tell it the same way every time. So
Mhm.
kind of allows me to work off the crowd if something happens, or just like kind of just keep it fun and free and not robotic, like every time you tell it.
Yeah, I could tell listening to that you were working off some reactions from the crowd too. So yeah, I can definitely tell that. So let's talk about what went into making the album. I always like to talk to comics about why they put an album out and all the nuts and bolts of it, because it seems like every comic goes about it a little bit different way. So what first of all, what was the impetus to do the album?
Well, basically it's just that I've been performing so long, and I had enough material, and I looked at it and I knew I could do like an hour worth of material, and like I have enough time to headline. It's all tight developed material at that point, and I just wanted to put out an album because I feel like for me, I always do comedy. Like, I accept the fact that right now it is a hobby, and
Hmm.
kind of like streaming, like it's something that I take very seriously, and I want to do the best at it that I possibly can and take it
Hmm.
as far as I can. Um, and I don't wanna look back and, like, not have anything to show for it or be disappointed with my time that I've put in,
Hmm.
have something that I could present to other people, which honestly has probably been one of the coolest things that I've had as part of my streaming journey. As I released it, like, a couple months right after I started streaming, so it's, I kinda had something to share with new people that I met. It's like, "Hey, I'm a stand-up comedian, like, I actually produced an album myself, like,
Uh-huh.
here it is, go check it out if you want to, like, get to know me a little bit better." And like I've had like a lot of the people who are here in chat too.
Oops. I lost Bob. Hopefully he will. Yeah, here he is. He's back.
Oh shoot.
I lost you.
Where do we miss out at?
You were right at talking about the folks. You've actually got a few people
Oh
watching. Some of the folks that you know as streamers.
yeah, like Santa Slays, and then Queen of the Sammed is actually Sammy from Kalamazoo who ran Louis, Sammy McCory. She's awesome. And Sparkly Blondie, another community member hanging out. Thank you guys. But essentially, um, like, it was something that I got to show them and be like, hey, this is what I did before I decided to take on um the streaming world. Like, this is something that I do, and
Hmm.
this is something tangible. It's not just a YouTube video or anything like that. It's like, mostly, I mean, I you'll probably, you if you you probably know what the error is with it that I still have yet to fix. But it is a it's just something tangible and something 80% professional
Yeah.
to produce, to bring to the world essentially. And I wanted to have just kind of like that mile marker because you realize that a lot of things in comedy, like I feel like a lot of people expect that someone's gonna find them or they're gonna get discovered or they're just gonna put enough work in and someone's gonna find them and give them the Netflix special or a late night show or ask them to do a comedy album and pay to produce it. And the longer you wait, like the less
Yeah.
likely it's gonna happen. And eventually
Right.
you have to do it for yourself. And that's just ultimately where I was. I felt like that was a it was something that I could do and put out there and be proud of, but also in a way which I found even like because I feel like I was more critical of stand-ups doing stuff that was on their album until I realized, like, especially if you're getting paid, I was always like, "Oh, you gotta go do new stuff." But it's like, hey, we're not all like professional multi-million dollar value comedians that it's their job to sit down and write stuff every day. They're like
Yeah.
found I've only found a fraction of a potential English speaking audience in this world, and I guarantee you less than 1% of 1% of those people have heard what I have to say. So if I go perform in front of a new audience, like, it's fine to do those jokes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a big deal just because the comedians who are from Kalamazoo or the Midwest or all the people I worked with for all these years have heard these jokes. It doesn't mean that there's not a new audience member who hasn't heard them. Like,
Right.
until I'm a household name or until I'm, like, doing more and I want to try and sell this stuff, like, I can do whatever I want with it, which means I've learned that a lot of these jokes I continue to tell even better than I did before, or they've now I guarantee you that now I can go back to that album and look at it because I do record most of what I perform. But now after the pandemic, I feel like I'm going to go back to it and I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to have more tags or I'm going to reorder some things and maybe there'll be new jokes in themselves. Maybe I'll end up deleting this album and releasing another better album. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's like that marking point on the journey that is like being a stand-up comedian and having enough material that I do kind of want to move on from it, but
Yeah.
just I want to have something to direct people to. It's like it's also like online content. I haven't sold very many of them and I don't really care. I didn't do it to make money off of it. I didn't
Mhm.
really do it to have merch. I did it because I wanted to have something online that people could listen to. And if they stream it on a streaming website, that's just as good as doing it anywhere else. And if they decide to share it with someone because they find it funny, then that is what it is. And that's amazing actually.
Mhm.
But it's like maybe I'll try and like pitch it to like the internet radio stations when I find time or understand how to do it. But it's like it just kind of freed up that creative energy to be able to move on, especially in the middle of the pandemic. Like I finally started working on it. Um, I think in like March because I had it recorded in February of 2019,
Mhm.
2 months before my daughter was born and I sat on it for over a year because I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to master. I didn't know how to do any of that, and I didn't have money
Mhm.
to pay somebody to do it, and it would have been really a lot of effort to do that. But through starting my own podcast and learning those skills, um, basically, it's moved along to where I finally had the skills in place to where I could do it, and then I had the time because I wasn't performing, so I just worked on it like over the summer and slowly like one track after another and then set that release date for October of 2020.
Mhm. It's funny you talk about doing the same stuff, but I think everybody's first special, whether it's Netflix or self-produced or Amazon or whatever, is the greatest hits of their first
Yeah,
10 years of comedy.
right. Yeah,
And and it's kind of like music. You know, everybody's first album is really good, and the second album kind of sucks because it's just leftovers from the first album.
yeah,
And I think comedy, I get the same thing from comedy too, because it, the second album always seems to be all your second best stuff, and the first one is the stuff that you've really worked over for years and years. And you know, you may find something that's better than No Glitter on Christmas for a closer, but you
right.
still got No Glitter on Christmas to throw in there at some point. So you know, it's great to have.
Yeah,
It's like having a nice well-made knife in your pocket when
Right.
you're camping.
Yeah. Just bust it out when the bears attack. Uh,
Yeah, and I
Smoking.
gotta say, I know people are watching, and I know people are commenting. I'm 57 years old in a couple days, and I'm about 3 feet from my keyboard. If I lean over, I'm going to break something because I'm on the TV tray, so I can't respond to you. But thank you for watching, and I know you're here to see Bob, and I appreciate it. But yeah, I what as far as the nuts and bolts of putting an album together, I know it's easier than it was like in the 80s,
Right.
because you can self-produce things, but there's still a lot of things that go into getting it out there and getting it on the streaming services and getting it available for download and stuff like that. Did you have anybody help you, or did you just pretty much do it as a DIY thing?
Um, which in the end it was me through like the finish line, but moving up into recording it and everything, um, basically I bought a Zoom recorder, like an H4n,
Hmm.
um, a couple weeks before. I think I remember it was the same night that Stuart Huff was in Kalamazoo for a show. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I think it was like November or December before, maybe a little bit earlier. But I bought the Zoom recorder in order to use it for. Um, I don't even remember. I think I was using it for. I don't even know. I wanted to use it because I knew I needed something to do the recording, because
Hmm.
it was kind of the type of thing where, I did get a lot of help from Chuck, who is the general manager of Shakespeare's Lower Level. He's recorded a lot of albums for, like, bands and does a lot of other music production stuff, like, he has a
Hmm.
studio there, and also Dave Blima, the sound engineer down there. Both of them helped me with the recording process, but I bought the H4n. Chuck helped me figure it out, and we messed with it with like a couple of shows ahead of time, before the actual show where we had recorded the stand up or the actual album. But basically, Chuck set it up because I didn't really know what I was doing at the time with it.
Yeah.
I needed to figure it out, so he set it up, and then David actually hooked it into the soundboard because he was doing sound that night and made sure everything was like the levels were good and everything.
Hmm.
And yeah, basically from there, Charlie had done an original, like, mix of, like, the 2 tracks because it comes out in 2 tracks, and he mixed it for me, um, and then he sent me I had the other tracks as well on my memory card, so we did that, and then I had it, and then that's when, like, nothing happened for a long time because he basically put it in Logic, and he put it together, and I also had all the raw data. So I got a chance to listen to it, and I had sent him notes on, like, how I would want it to be edited,
Yeah.
uh, but he just never had a chance to do anything extra with it, and I didn't have any money to pay him to do it, so, it just kinda stagnated. And then September of 2019 is when I actually started my podcast with my buddy Adam, and that's when I actually got the basic starting equipment for what I've been using to stream even, is like I got like my mixer, and I got ended up getting like my microphone and my boom arm and all this stuff. And I used Traction to start like figuring out how to edit and everything. And
Hmm.
over time, that's what grew into me actually wanting to, do it myself. Like, I realized, like, I which the thing that amazes me about it now, though, is because I was using my little HP laptop, which is, like, it's got a ton of RAM in it, but not much of anything else. Uh,
Yeah.
so basically, it'll load websites really good and make you think it's really fast until you're trying to do anything. Like, literally, if I was editing a 90-minute podcast with not that much extra production on it, just some cuts and like adding in like everything else, um, basically it would take an hour and a half. It would take like a minute per minute, maybe a little bit more, like a minute 30 seconds to render every single minute of like an audio recording. So I was like producing that podcast for most of the time with
Yeah.
that laptop. And now that I have a nice PC, the funniest thing is that same type of file, like a 90-minute podcast, takes 90 seconds to
Yeah.
render on the PC that I have now. But I rendered that entire album and edited it and everything, like, through all the freezes and the lost data and everything. Like, I almost deleted the whole thing at one point off my
Whoa.
computer, I still had it on a physical drive because I remember I posted it and I was like, "I'm dumb," and then everyone's like, "Oh, you deleted your master." It's like, "No, I didn't delete the master." But I did delete, like, some of my edits, but honestly, like, going through it again, like, there was a couple of like, I kinda went through in passes because I remember, like, hearing somewhere about writing, like, you kinda go through in passes, like,
Mhm.
you write, like, all the way through the story, and then you go through it again. Um, but basically, I kinda did that, is I would go through and listen to it and, like, go through a track and then do my edits and how I think it should sound, and then do the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I kinda had, like, a flow down for how it would go. Um, I don't really think I changed the order too much, but I mean, when I recorded it, I did, like, I think I performed for I wanna say there's, like, 90 minutes that I performed for almost, maybe an hour and 20, and, I edited it down to, like, about 53 minutes, I think.
Mhm.
Um, so, yeah, basically, it's just over that summer leading up till I think the final edit was done at the end of August last year, and then I just picked my birthday to release it because that would be the time that Facebook would let people see my profile the most.
Game in the algorithm.
Ryan, man.
You got to do what you can.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously that's a lot of work, and I'm glad you did it. And you mentioned pitching it to some of the like Sirius and stuff like that. I know that folks that do that, that really creates a nice little second income for them. And I know one guy that I interviewed, and his name is escaping me. He got on all three of the main comedy channels on
Yeah.
Sirius because he does clean. Oh, it's Gabe Kia. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I know.
yeah, he got on the clean one. He got on the just the all around comedy one and Raw Dog. So yeah, he uh, and very few comics can do that.
Mhm. Yeah, I figure I might as well try, like, I feel like there's definitely material there. Like, not all the jokes are, like, perfect, and I don't know necessarily what people would, like, connect with, but I definitely wanna try and maybe pitch that before too long just to see what I could do because there's no hurt in not trying, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, fun fact though, because you mentioned, like, the No Glitter on Christmas, like, that track, and Sammy mentioned it in the chat, No Glitter on Christmas was actually going to be the original name of the album.
Uh huh.
Uh, basically, I my buddy who did the art, the album artwork, uh, why is his name escaping me right now? Um, now it's even worse. Brock Brock Leshman, he's in a bunch of bands, and he's also done comedy at Shakespeare's, and, he
Okay.
performed on, like, the Dave Stone show with us, and a couple others. He did the, album artwork, which was absolutely amazing, but he couldn't really find a lot of inspiration from that, and he had, like, started out making that little, honestly, I need to have him make me some emotes for Twitch, I think, 'cause he just does such cool detail work, but he actually did that burger with the crown from the album art
Yeah.
first, and I was like, "Yeah, let's just run with that." And he's just like, he was excited that like, that just seemed like a better concept for the album at least. So that's ultimately how, that ended up winning over as the name for the album as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, we haven't even gone over why you started doing comedy in the first place because I jumped right into the album. So
Uh,
you've been doing it for about 10 years. So what was it that made you take that leap?
well, I always kind of was I've always been a fan of stand-up, and, I'm the youngest child, so I like attention. Um, but I feel like I have been one of those people, like, I mean, generally, if I'm left to myself, like, I don't mind just being quiet and, like, just, I don't know, like, playing video games or watching movies, reading books, whatever, learning stuff, but it's like
Uh-huh.
when I do get out and around people, like, and I find my in, like, I definitely that's when I do kind of become a little bit more extroverted, and I've always enjoyed, like, telling jokes or making people laugh, so,
Mhm.
um, actually, when I worked at, Panera, one of my buddies who worked there with me, he was like the big comedian of the group because me and him would always like joke around like on the line when we're making food and like we go back and forth trying to like have better puns throughout the work shift and stuff and like make each other laugh. But his big claim to fame in the store was that he's done comedy before. Little did I know it was like two or three open mics, but in my mind, he was basically the the Richard Pryor of the store, like, he was the old hat. He's
Yeah.
like, "We gotta go do stand-up sometime," and I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing," because that was actually he had performed at the Laughing Post, which is what Shakespeare's Lower Level was before it was bought by the business.
Uh-huh.
So I remember I always thought, "Man, that's so cool that he's done that." And he always encouraged me to do it, and then he had a going away party where he was moving to LA. He works in the film industry now,
Uh-huh.
and at his going away party, we did a whole stand-up act. His mom's, like, a folk singer, and she has, like, a venue in their barn, so they had, like, the microphone and the lights and the stage and everything, and, we performed a show for his going away party, and after that, I didn't do it for a year until my buddy Perry, decided he was getting into comedy. He was like a music person, and like he had known I did comedy before, and we used to do like video stuff all the time. He's
Uh-huh.
like, "Hey, come do it," and that's when I actually met more of the, like the Kalamazoo comedians at the time, like Eric Stewart, Sonny Pandit, like Michael Bird, Jen Dama, Jamie Perrin, Andrew Van Houten, like all those people who were like the core of our group.
Mhm.
Met them, like, enjoyed hanging out with those people, and they invited me to come to Louis, and it was just kinda all downhill from there. Because after that, I was doing stand-up at least once a month, if not more as, like, the scene grew, like, just getting on stage multiple times, so,
Right.
um, it was just something that I felt like I was relatively decent at, like, and I enjoyed, and it was a artistic expression, so just all of those things kinda drew me to doing more of it, and people encouraged me, so I didn't stop.
Yeah. What I get from that, I is what you said right at the beginning, that I'm gonna call you what I am, an introverted extrovert.
Yeah,
You are totally fine with just sitting back and observing people interacting and doing what they want, but when you
yeah.
see you're in, then you just go nuts, and I do the same thing.
Well, it's like, well, I feel like I have that little brother syndrome though too, so it's like, if I don't pick my moments correctly, then I'm also that person who, like, has to repeat themselves to get their joke across, and then sometimes after the 3rd time you say it, it either hits or people are like, "Hey, we heard you the first time, shut up."
Yeah.
But, that's gotten better with age, but, yeah, it's just kind of, like, once I get my in or once I don't know, I just don't have that skill with people or, like, have that self-confidence sometimes just to go up and engage a conversation necessarily because I think too much about what they're thinking, but
Mhm.
if you do if you do it from a stage, though, you know exactly what you're trying to get them to think, like, you're planting the seeds for a one-way conversation, and there doesn't necessarily have to be a response aside from laughter, so if it goes well, then it's not a big deal, but I also feel like kind of that observation, like, definitely, um, just that observation, though, is what leads to being able to write jokes, is, like, you seeing things differently than how most people see them or take them for face value, and then also communicating that thought through a microphone to someone sitting there observing, so
Mhm.
it's a lot easier to do that than it is to have a personal conversation with someone sometimes, I
Yeah,
think.
no doubt. Now, you seem pretty objective about yourself and your comedy. When did you feel like, "Hey, I'm pretty good at this"? Because I know sometimes a light bulb goes off for comics and, sometimes it doesn't, but I think you probably maybe remember a moment of like, "Hey, this is something I'm pretty good at."
Maybe like yesterday, I don't know.
Okay.
um I think, let's see, I feel like one of the times I remember one time, which I kind of realize now. I don't know if it was really. Um, I mean, there's been a couple times, definitely, like throughout my career, where there's like usually it's like after a set that goes really well, and like you see like your friends laughing, like even if they might have heard your other jokes, if you bust something out that like makes them die with laughter, you just do really well with the crowd. Uh,
Mhm.
because I mean, usually it's more or less like that encouragement, or even if it's not necessarily encouragement, but someone's like, "Hey, like this idea you had was good, but like think about it this way," or like, "Here's some ideas," which that's always a double-edged sword because
Yeah.
it's either advice that you really, really want or you really, really don't want.
Yeah.
It all depends on the person. Because like a lot of times it'll either be spot on and really speak to you, or
Yeah.
it could be, "Oh, you didn't understand what that joke was about at all, did you?" Like, you can get up there and, like, you can tell that joke, that's a completely different joke, like, I think it's good, but it's not my joke. Uh,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I remember one time Adam Deggy, at Louis after I used to have, like, this terrible Batman joke about, it was, like, the catchphrase, like, "He's the hero that this party" like, it was about Batman at a party, and,
Uh,
like, someone wore a Dark Knight costume, and he got, like, upstaged by, like, someone in, like, an old school Adam West costume. All of this is, like, so made up also. I remember okay, so this joke that I don't tell anymore, I remember I just came up with it because, um, some kid was just wearing, like, a Batman mask at a Halloween party, and nobody cared, but it was, like, a really cool, like, replica Batman mask, but then he didn't do anything else. So, I mean, this joke, being more honest, is probably funnier than what I had come up with, because like, my whole premise that I had come up with at the time was that he got upstaged by someone in an Adam West costume, when really the fact that this guy wore this, like, super awesome Batman mask, but then was just wearing a sweatshirt and jeans to a Halloween party, and no one gave a fuck because he was not trying at all. Like, that's a funny but, like, the whole punchline was like, "He's the hero that this party deserves," or, like or whatever. "He's the hero that this party needs, but not
yeah.
needs right," or whatever however that line goes. It's like the play off that line, like, "He's the hero this party deserves, but not the one it needs right now," type thing, and
Yeah.
I remember that used to do pretty well. In my mind back then, it used to kill. Now it probably made like 3 people laugh. I in a crowd of 20. Um, but yeah, basically, I remember after one time after I did that set, it was like the first time one of the first times I met Adam Deggy, and we're buddies now, but, like, he came up to me or he was like, what I don't even think he necessarily came up to me afterwards, but we were like walking past each other and he told me good set. And I just remember like, oh my God, like he thought my set was good. And I like looked up to him at like as like so far above me at that point, which he's an amazing comedian and he's a
Yeah.
good friend of mine now. But it's just like I remember like, yeah. And I told him a while ago, I was like, hey man, I still remember that time. And he's just like, oh, when I realized he was probably just being nice and might not have really heard much of my set either.
Yeah.
Either way. But I remember that was one of those moments when I was like, "Oh, I just got approval from one of my peers that I look up to."
That's always good to get,
Right,
and you don't get it very often. Comics aren't real quick to say good job. So
right. And I mean, fuck 'em, like, they don't need to, like, be and I'm sorry, am I not supposed to swear? I should probably ask
no,
that.
oh, you're
Alright,
you're fine.
fuck
Yeah,
'em. Like, that's one thing about Twitch that I absolutely love, dude, is just, like, Twitch is, like, not like Twitch is all about like dissolving your ego as much as possible. There are tons of egos, but I feel like
yeah,
the people who are best about it, like try not to be egotistical about their streams at all necessarily or their content they're creating because
uh
here everything is just so everything is done. Like there's nothing really super if something is like if something's able to be done by everyone, it just gets done by everyone. Like
right.
it's all memes and emotes and like just online jokes and slang. And it's like that's what like really sells here. So it's like if you can be original and yourself and like lean into that, but also make your own spin on it. Like that is really how you can kind of connect and then also share yourself. But it's also all about just like for the most part, like some of the best communities that I've been a part of, it's just about um like just having a good time. And it's mostly it's just love, you know. Whereas
Mm,
like stand up, there's just like that such a level of competition and like just such a level of like I don't know, like joke stealing or when really like you'll hear like open micers sometimes like someone has a premise about McDonald's and then someone else has a premise about McDonald's and they tell similar jokes because it's all the same experience that we all have and like no one's really bringing their own self to it and it's like no that person didn't steal that joke like your joke's just like really simple and it's not that it's a bad joke but it's like if you can have that same thought without putting more effort into it, then it's like don't accuse someone of stealing or anything. I don't know what my original point is, but it's just like I feel like I do know my original point. I just feel like I wish there was less of that in the comedy world, and
Yeah.
like the time that I've spent here, I can't wait to like how much I've tried to intermingle my comedy with Twitch. I can't
Mhm.
wait to turn around in the real world and integrate what I've learned as a content creator and as a streamer back into my stand up and like
Right.
just bring that same vibe of being supportive and understanding and like just all of that as much as I can. Cause it's not that you necessarily have to like more or less what I've learned is like you shouldn't be sitting there worried about the same people supporting you or anything. Like you should worry first about entertaining and providing value to your audience
Mhm.
and the rest will come, you know? So it's just I don't feel like I wish yeah, I just wish like stand up would focus on that a little bit more cuz like some of the questions that I've asked even in like the Michigan comics group of the last couple of days is just like it like you get like that mixed answer like you kind of realize what people's motivations are and like when really number one like they should just be there to be creative and entertain and if they do well at it the rest will come, you know.
Right. And really it's a time to kind of build that up. I saw one of your questions about who's running shows besides the comedy clubs. And the thing is that there's a few people running shows, and this is all over the country. A few people are
Right.
starting to run shows again, but a fraction of the amount of shows that were going on before. So, as a
Yeah.
community, if you are able to get together and say, "Hey, let's do a bunch of shows and support each other," then maybe you can build those up, and everybody wins. But no, that's not really how it goes. It's more like this is my show. I'm going to put a little shield around it, and only these people can participate, and that's the way it works. But yeah, I kind of dig that, and I got to give a shout out. My friend that passed away was part of DIY comedy in South Bend, and
Oh,
I got to
okay.
give a shout out to them because they really do it right. They welcome people from Chicago, Michigan, all over the place to come do their shows, and they really want to make it a place where anybody can come and perform and lift them up. So I got to give them a shout out because my friend Brian was a part of that, and
Okay.
they always did a good job with it.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's definitely awesome. And I mean, yeah, it's like that's a whole conversation that can go on forever. But yeah, it's like definitely especially like open mics. If it is a true open mic, then yeah, there should be opportunities for new people to get up there and try as long as they're not doing anything to um degrade the value that's being created there, then there's yeah, no
Mm,
reason to open that up to basically everybody.
right. And that's really one of the, you started touching on one of the things that a lot of comedians do now. So if you're either a part-time comedian or you're like a full-time feature or a full-time host, you're really not making enough money to like put a roof over your head because it just
Yeah.
doesn't pay that much anymore. So most comedians that are at that level are trying to find another way to generate income or get them up to the next level. So you got YouTube, you got Twitter, you got Twitch, you got all the other things. TikTok, a lot of people are doing the TikTok, but the thing with Twitch is, I've only just touched on it, and I'm part of another channel that I do my talk show on, and I haven't really dug in to see what it's all about, but I've
Yeah.
observed a lot. And I watched you, not from when you started, but fairly early on,
Yeah.
just because I knew who you were from Facebook, and I just followed your posts to watch you on Twitch. And it's definitely what you've done in a fairly short period of time, because I think you said you're up to 2,000 subscribers now
Uh
or followers.
1600 on Twitch, and my Twitter's at like 2200.
Okay, so
But
you're really building that pretty quickly. I'm on a channel that's been around for about a year, and I think they've got like 700.
yeah,
So you've really done that well, but you've built a community around your channel, like on the Discord, that you bring other small streamers in and bring them up. So let's talk about Twitch and how you, first of all, what drew you to it? Obviously, you play video games, so that's definitely an in. But what drew you to Twitch, and how did you, come up the ranks?
Um, which I mean, really, like what you mentioned there, right there, is like community is really, it's really number one, and that's what like Twitch taught me a lot about, and like Santa Slays, like one of the people watching right now. What up, Santa and Dinky and JD? Welcome in, you guys. Um, Basically, it's just Santa, like meeting Santa was like a big change to how I kind of approached everything and like learned about the importance of community because I kind of started to have an idea about it um, from pretty close to the beginning. Um,
Hmm.
when I first started out, like I've wanted to stream on Twitch for a long time. I just really didn't have any of the equipment or really the know-how. Like I had tried because on Xbox you could always stream to Mixer,
Yeah.
and I would go live on there sometimes and just think, "Oh, maybe someone will pop in if I do this random thing." And I kinda had an idea of, like, how to create content, things like that. Um, but basically, I didn't realize that you actually had to, like, go meet people in order to bring them back right away. Like, it took me about 4 weeks or so, maybe less. It was less than that, but it's like I kind of really solidified it. And it's funny because like, Queen of the Sam, Sammy, she like I remember I was, like, explaining this to her, and she's like, "Duh, like, I'm not an antisocial idiot," when I was kind of explaining it to her. But, like, I started streaming in August, and, basically I started streaming like very slowly, and then by like the second week of August I was like streaming every single day. And one of the communities that I popped into, Chad Shank, who is a friend of Stanhope, when we had Doug Stanhope in Kalamazoo, I actually met Chad Shank, and I remember hearing about him streaming on Twitch from listening to Stanhope's podcast.
Hmm.
I always thought that maybe I should jump in and like go try and play games with him or something because he was like playing the same games I would play at that time, but I never did. And then right after I started streaming, I had popped into his community, and he doesn't necessarily do streaming the same way as a lot of people do. Like he kind of just has like he kind of already attracts like the fan base that's around that podcast and like Doug Stanhope, and like he has his own following. So that's kind
Hmm.
of how he cultivates his community, where he doesn't necessarily do as much like around Twitch or Discord directly to be able to bring those people in. But that's where I met like my friend Mike, the shoot, or like Jack and Dino, Broken Toys, a bunch of those people like Tochi Kuma and Crawl Space. Like those are some of the first people that would like start. Like I met them through Chad Shank, and I remember I popped in there one day and I was like, "Hey, Chad, it's Bob from Kalamazoo," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." So like that was kind
Yeah.
of like I kinda had that vouch, like, I had that in from him, and then, like, he was like, "Good to see you," and, like, ended up, like, hanging out with the people from his community that also streamed, and, like, really, it's just kinda becoming less selfish about it, like, and actually going like, when you have more time, like, it's like, now I have content that I wanna create, like, I have a schedule, so it's just, like, I don't have as much time to necessarily spend with everybody else, but it's like going out and not spending all your time streaming, like you if you actually spend time creating content, and depending on where you're at, like I mean, I feel like when you're very new, um Matt's here. So what's up, Matt? Matt Harper's in there. Basically, the more time you spend, like I feel like early on, like before you really catch on, like it's good to be a part of a community first to be able to actually meet some people on the platform because that first month I was streaming, I would post on Facebook, I think like every single day or every other day, like my personal Facebook and my Twitter, which like my Twitter had like 800 followers total over the course of like 9 years of like
Hmm.
my stand up with very little engagement just because I was so inconsistent with it.
Yeah.
Where sometimes I had some posts on there that would like pop off a little bit, but nothing crazy. um, so it's like really I didn't have much of an online presence, or at least I thought I did because I would post my jokes on Facebook and on my Twitter, and I have like 1,000 Instagram followers and I have 3,000 people on my Facebook. But it's like when I started going to Twitch, I didn't know anyone there. I didn't know any
Mm.
platform, and everyone on the other platforms that I actually have reach to, like, not many of them spend time on Twitch, so it's like some of my friends that I played games with would come over there, and, like, some of the people that like, maybe 1 or 2 like, you're one of the few people from Facebook, I think there's maybe 10 total that I've had from Facebook, like, come hang out ever.
Mm.
So it's that's why I realized by the end of August, like August 25th is when I created Game Pass Dad. And I created a brand new Twitter account. And a couple days later, I was able to change my Twitch name, changed everything in Discord. And that was like when I started actually creating content centered around like Xbox gaming and like gaming specific content and combining like my comedy with that. And
Mhm.
also a good time just because that led up into the release of the new like gaming consoles there. But it's just like the fact is like I was applying my sense of humor to something very focused. And it is so easy to write a joke that people enjoy if you're that laser focused on something. It doesn't have to be super complicated or super unique. You just make a meme or like follow a
Yeah.
trend. Like that's what TikTok is about. It's all about following a trend and people will engage with it. So it's just kind of like a combination between that to build up the Twitter and then also just like actually getting out there and meeting people and making sure to interact and engage with a community around the stream. And when I eventually actually created my Discord, like that actually gave everyone a place to come back to and like be able to check in and see like what my schedule was. Having a set schedule, that's the other very important one on Twitch is if you can
Mhm.
the same time every week, whether it's one time or 4 times, like, as long as you're there when you say you're gonna be there consistently, people will come back if you're putting on a solid show.
Mhm.
It's a combination of those things. It's grown and I've grown in my skills, but it's definitely realizing, like, it was a scary thing to do to try and create like, especially when you're like, "Oh, I've spent 10 years creating this platform of, like, people that I know, like, or that know me for my comedy, of course, they'll want to come watch me on Twitch." Like, I realized that it's like, that's not how it works. Like, those people know me because they're either comedians or because they enjoy attending comedy shows, and
Right.
that's the way that they will want to engage with me. So, like, taking that leap to go to the next level, and shortly after there is, like, when I met Santa, and he kinda showed me what it was like to actually engage with chat and, like, get to know people, and, like, I started enjoying well, you wanna know what? Is I learned to become a fan of Twitter, like, I started to get it or not Twitter,
Mhm.
Twitch, like, I actually which, I mean, even Twitter, I I've created a more deeper understanding of it the platform, and I enjoy it a lot more now than I did then, which one of the biggest things I can say, and I'm working on like I'm in the planning stages of like a whole YouTube thing about like comedy and how to get into it. But one of the first things that I'm going to say is like being a fan of comedy is going to be one of the best ways to learn how to be a comedian. And
Right.
I feel like with Twitch, like in learning how to enjoy a stream and be part of a community is the best way to create a stream and build your own community, you know?
Mhm. I, took this was when, during the pandemic when I was working from home and not working very hard at all, because I was at my old job, and I took a real deep dive into Twitch and started looking at all the different stuff, and, uh, obviously, one of the things I like about what you do is you do combine the gaming and the comedy because, some people just game and all you hear is, "Oh, fuck that shit," and that's pretty much it. But you do situational stuff. Like you said, there's a joke right there, and you do it because there's a situation for the joke. So you do a meme type thing, and that's funny, and people stick around because they want to hear that. I remember my son. I think um, I don't know if he was in college yet, or if he was. I think he was in college, and he was watching a guy that played online poker on Twitch. I don't know if they even allow that anymore, but anyway, he did that, and his comments were what was funny, and even when he was losing, he was super funny, and it was entertaining to watch. But I go in and I can't. I don't game, so I don't
Yeah,
really. I can't follow just a gamer, but some of the talk shows and some of the comedy shows and some of the people that just stand there and talk about their jobs and stuff like that. I mean, there's
yeah,
just so many different things, and they get followers. And some of them, I'm like, how do you get a follower. There was one lady I was watching, and all she was doing was talking on her phone and scrolling through her phone, and then talking in the mic every once in a while and saying, "If you don't comment, I'm going to kick you." But she had like 30 or 40 people at 2 o'clock in the afternoon commenting, and
Right.
I'm like, wow, I don't know what your I don't know what your draw is. I'm not going to watch you anymore, but somebody likes you. But
Yeah.
there's a it's not just gaming anymore, and that's cool. But everybody who does it well seems to, like you said, they've got everything's kind of the same, but they put their own spin on it and have enough of a personality to draw people in, and by interacting, that's how you keep them.
Right. I mean, that's really what a big portion of it is. So really, like Twitch isn't just about like playing games anymore. And that's like a lot of like what Santa and I would talk about a lot is just like it's not just about going live and like playing a game and expecting people to show up. Like
Mm,
it really is like that interpersonal interaction with your entertainment and the fact that you have um like actual control, like in like a lot of people, like you just hear the person say your name and it pulls you into it because it's in real time and it's highly interactive and engaging. And like you're not going to find a lot of people unless they're professional, like unless they're a professional video game player, or unless they're famous already for some other reason. Like you're not going to have like a huge following, or most likely there are exceptions, but it's like odds are if you're going to actually bring people in, like you're going to be engaging the audience and having an interactive stream. And the games don't really matter that much anymore. More or less, in a way, like the game is just a category for people to be able to find you,
yeah,
because that's like the only way that Twitch is discoverable. Which I mean, this is getting way out of the comedy world and more into the content creation world, but it's like really that's the only way that people can locate you is if you're high enough ranked on a game based on the following that you already have. Like you can play a game where if you have 10 followers, you might be the fourth option on that page if you're playing Halo or
yeah,
whatever, like
right,
less popular game. So people search that out and oh, like they might, if you have a stream that looks well enough produced to be clickable or an interesting title, then people will find you. Um,
mm,
but also like the networking aspect and everything else. Like, but it's just that's how they'll find you. But then like being the interaction is how you actually get people to stay. Because
mm,
that's really the most of what the game actually matters, aside from people wanting to watch that particular game. But there's like if you go to Call of Duty right now, there are thousands of Call of Duty streams, and most like 99% of those people are watching two or three of the top Call of Duty streamers. So it's like
right,
you're not going to differentiate yourself by playing that super saturated game.
yeah,
Uh,
no doubt,
so it is that is where like to differentiate yourself and build that following from that. It is about like that connectivity. And I mean, honestly, a lot of my best streams have been like not necessarily traditional games. Like, I mean, a lot of what we're having a lot of fun with now is like Stream Raiders, which is like a interactive game that people in the chat can play along with you,
mm.
where the community can kind of fight a battle where they're um, dropping characters onto a map that each have they're dropping characters onto a map in which they battle against like characters. Or Sammy said, I eat giant Slim Jims on screen." uh, but yeah, it's just I mean, there is the whole meta, like the current thing of like the hot tubs or the ASMR, where that's just pretty overtly sexual content that may or may not actually belong on Twitch or might need a whole new level itself. But basically, it's just, I mean, I don't know, like sometimes attractive women, like certain people come to the site to see that. Other people come to watch video games. Other people come to like meet people and make friends and find a community or find people to play games with. Like there's a lot of different levels to it.
Yeah, that worries me a little bit on Twitch, because I open my Twitch and I get the same thing I see on Instagram
Yeah.
and TikTok and everything else. It's always a half naked woman dancing around, and really weird dance. And I don't need that. I've been with with my boo for 38 years now, and I don't. It just that doesn't do anything for me anymore. So
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily bother me. Like, I mean, I feel like that basically doing those things to get that attention, like they probably deal with things that like me as a white male on this platform doesn't have to deal with, and like more power
Yeah.
to them for doing whatever they want. It's just the only thing that concerns me about it is it's just how does that look if that becomes like the normal, like if that's like what Twitch is all about. Like, oh, you're streaming on Twitch, is that the softcore porn website? Like, I don't
Yeah.
stream on a porn website, I'd go stream on Pornhub, I'd go stream on the biggest website in
Yeah.
the world. I wouldn't stream on Twitch. So I mean, I feel like those types of things, like there's not really a consistency with how that's dealt with. But yeah, it's just it's interesting to see. But at the same time, it's like it's not it's not anything that affects me directly right now. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
until that gets completely out of control or anything like that, like, there's still an audience for someone like myself, and I feel like I have a lot of value to offer, and honestly, I'm probably not offering as much value as I can, but I'm constantly focused on that, and I feel like
Right.
it is going to bring a new focus towards my stand-up when I come back to it, and, like, honestly, it's like I just started working on trying to book things, like, the last couple of days, and it's just been so awesome, like, to come back to and just realize that there is, like, the goodwill that I've created there and that people are excited for me to get back into it, and they're excited to come perform again, so, I really feel like just all these things combined, like, when I get a chance, like, I need to find out how I can, like I said, bring the Twitch aspect into comedy and, like, live stream some of these shows or, do, like, a behind the scenes or something like that. I wanna
Yeah.
figure out how that's gonna work in a way that, like, stand-up comedians are gonna wanna participate because maybe it's always so weird though, because what I really would like to do is, like, when I'm working with those bigger acts, like, if they have time and they're not too exhausted or having to do anything, like, I feel like it would be really cool to maybe get them for, like, a half hour or something to come chat with, like, the people who are watching the stream, like, do, like, a just chatting where we can do questions and answers or just riff
Mhm.
or kind of podcast with them. I haven't really decided what that's gonna be, but I feel like that would be super cool, and that would provide a lot of value because, like, maybe they wouldn't be cool with me live broadcasting their material, but if I could just get a slice of life of hanging out with them and, like, they're conversating with them, like, I feel like that could be really like, a reason that people would want to be part of my community and want to
Right.
interact with
And
my
that gives as good or maybe even better exposure than like being on a podcast, like what I do. Because it all depends on the audience. But if they actually get a chance to interact, then that's going to actually make the whoever you bring on, that's going to make them more endearing to them rather
Right.
than just listening. Just a
Yeah.
passive thing. So yeah, I can see how that works, and that's actually why I'm doing this on Twitch, because it's much better than just me sitting here talking, because I don't think I'd draw too many people because I'm old.
No, but I mean, and I don't know, age isn't anything to do with it though, and honestly, I'm proud of you for doing it on Twitch and live streaming it because you might be however old you are, but think of how many comedians are out there right now making a podcast and spending all their time and energy making a podcast that only 10 people listen to, and then
Mm,
post it to a random website that does nothing to actually make their podcast more discoverable.
right.
Like, this is amazing that you do it this way. It's like you have people that can find it in real time. You're doing it on YouTube so people can find it later if
Mm,
something catches on. It's YouTube is connected to the largest search engine in the world.
yeah.
You find out how to make it searchable, or if you do get like a bigger act and people are looking up that person's name, there's a chance that if you do the right things with your video that people can find it. Like, there's so many reasons why live streaming is where it's at and why you've seen a lot of, like, live streaming is literally going to be a way for, it's not necessarily going to be primary content. Like, Twitch has it as primary content, and that's kind of all Twitch does,
Mm,
and that's kind of an issue that is unrecognized by them at this point. But basically, it's just all websites, all major social media websites are going to have streaming, and it's just going to be where you do it. But it's also going to be a way to make your content interactive and discoverable because
right.
that is the future.
Right. So I got to ask, this is changing the subject a little bit, but now you said you're starting to book some dates and stuff like that, but you're also a dad. You're also doing the Twitch thing, and you're working on new content. You've probably got a day job. You're doing all this stuff now. How are you gonna sleep and actually be able to get all this done now? Because I know when you have a kid, things change.
The answer is I don't.
Yeah.
I'm working on getting more sleep, but I usually stream until about 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I wake up by 6 or 7, so, uh,
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, I probably should sleep a little bit more, but, yeah, I mean, it's just I need to find that balance, and I constantly know it, and it does have its effects on, like, my personal life and things like that as well, but, um, more or less just, when it does catch up to me, it definitely catches up to me, and I end up sleeping for, like, 10 hours, so
Mm,
I I I think 6 is probably the most I can get with everything I have going on.
mm, mm. So, based on what you've learned over the last 10 years doing comedy and this Twitch thing, if a new comedian came to you and said, "What should I do?" Say you watched them and they're actually pretty funny, and they say, "What should I do next?" If they get a good 5 minutes, what would you say is the thing that the path that they should follow in order to maybe make this some sort of a money generating thing and a fan generating thing?
Um, I mean, like, I would definitely just say make online content, like, somehow, like, stream on Twitch, make YouTube videos, do TikToks, like, that's the way that you I mean, honestly, like, if they write their first good 5 minutes, like, the next step is to write another good 5 minutes and make a 10-minute set and write another good 5 minutes and make a 15-minute set, and then find a way to link that all together or write another 5 minutes that links that together, basically,
Mm,
like, but yeah, I mean, you more or less build it 5 minutes at a time, and then you get more stage time to play with, so it's like, get on stage as much as possible, but I really wish that when I was doing it, that maybe sometimes if I didn't have new jokes to tell or anything like that, or I wasn't excited to tell the jokes, maybe I wish I would have taken some of that time to maybe learn a new skill when it came to like the production aspect of things, or maybe tried to write and stayed home and wrote a new joke, or I mean, maybe force myself if I was gonna go out and do a show, if I'm bored of the material I'm telling, then I might like, it'll probably still bomb, so I might as well work on a joke that maybe scares me a little bit, you know?
yeah.
But it's always the thing I'm really realizing is, like, you gotta follow the path of least resistance, and you gotta try and be a person who has some answers or has the answers, or because I mean, there's so many people out there that are just, like, not gonna take the time to figure it out themselves. So, if you don't know it, if you can figure it out, then people will come to you for answers, you know?
Yeah. Well, great. It's been fantastic having you on the show, and obviously for the people who are listening, the audio. If you want to follow Bob on Twitch and Twitter, it's Game Pass Dad, all one word, and Twitter is the same way, right?
Yep, just Game Pass. Twitter.com slash or yeah, slash Game Pass Dad. So yeah,
Yeah.
or at Game
And
Pass. That's how it goes.
obviously, if you haven't gotten on Twitter and checked it out yet, I recommend it. Even I find stuff that I like, and it's really neat. And the way you do it is obviously um, something that another comedian would appreciate, because
Yeah,
it's the type of up to the minute jokes and stuff like
right.
that that
Yeah, it's
we,
kind
we always appreciate somebody that can do that.
right. It's kind of like a radio show mixed with like an improv, mixed with like a TV show like type of
Hmm.
stuff, and just always creating like new props to mess with in the different scenes and everything. So
Yeah, no doubt.
a lot of fun.
And you can find Burger Prince on all the streaming services, and I recommend listening to it. And anything else that you have going on that you want to plug?
I mean, right now, just yeah, Burger Prince is on all the major streaming platforms like Spotify, Amazon, and iTunes. You can find it on YouTube as well. Really, well, I'm always streaming like Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch. um, definitely a good time to drop by and hang out, chat a little bit if you want. But aside from that, like I've got my Bob Fredricks YouTube channel and my Game Pass Dad YouTube channel. And I have a TikTok now, but like the YouTube and the TikTok are like the new things that I'm trying to wrap my head around
Uh,
and figure out. So I'm spending a lot of time um, doing that. So that's where you might find a lot of like new content, or like I need to figure out a release schedule or really get in a lane of like what I'm doing there. But that's probably where you'll see a lot of stuff up and beyond what I'm doing on Twitch so far. And then uh, there will be comedy shows in Michigan in the near future that I'm working on. I just don't really have anything to announce yet, but in the late summer, early fall here, I'll be producing some shows.
Yeah, I, I'm glad I'm moving where I'm moving, but I had right before the pandemic, I had started going to Michigan to do mics and stuff like that to meet some new people, and I did Casey's mic there in Kalamazoo.
Oh yeah, team upstairs.
Yeah, and yeah, Team Upstairs, and I did the contest at Dr. Grin's, and I did oh, what's his name? The one with the big smiley face and the mic.
Oh, Sunday Night Funnies.
Yes, I did that one, and just really nice. Adam Daggy was there, and it was really nice just meeting new people doing that. But now I don't think I'm going to drive 6 or 7 hours. Well, actually, it would be closer to 10 or 12 hours because I'm about 9 hours away from home. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you guys got a pretty cool scene going on up there, and I appreciate you being on the show. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to do it. I really appreciate it, and definitely happy to come back anytime you want. And
Excellent.
ask me any questions you have about any of the stuff that you think I might know something about. I'm here to help, man.
Oh yeah, I think I will. Once I get myself settled, I'm gonna go headlong into Twitch and see what I can do there because I just enjoy doing that there because it's just like you said, it's more community minded and the people you get to follow you and you follow actually just become more like family than any of
Right.
the other stuff.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely like you got the right equipment. Like it sounds great. Like it looks good. So you're doing everything right so far. So
Yeah. Well, it looks a lot better when I'm in a studio.
yeah,
The spare bedroom doesn't.
try and peek out the window a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got like boxes over there from when I came to work from home. That's where I
Yeah.
first came. There's a whole pile of like just random stuff, like costumes and clothes and computer parts over here. So
Uh,
you're not alone.
well, it's funny because I was kind of freaking out today because I didn't know where I was going to put my camera and my laptop because I don't have anything except for my soundboard. And I bought this stand off of Amazon because I normally have a boom, and I didn't
Yeah.
know what I was going to do. And I got this package from Amazon because my cigars, I'm a cigar smoker. They were all in a cardboard box. I can't keep them in there, so I got a big container, and that container came in a huge box. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. So now the box is going to be part of my studio for here until I get
Oh, okay.
moved.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna finish it up here. Thanks for being on, Bob. Thanks everybody for watching. If you want to follow my channel, that's cool. I'll be back on, and I've got a few more interviews getting in the schedule and getting back into the swing of things. So yeah, if you want to watch that, I would really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.